few years ago, I went to a friend's house and he seemed really excited to tell me about this new game that he'd got. And I remember him saying to me, he goes, Michael, you'll probably like this game that I'm playing because I know how much of a fan of Final Fantasy you are. And, you know, I am a really big fan of Final Fantasy. I went in and the first thing I noticed was, honestly, just the art style of the game, really. That's what stood out to me first. Obviously, the battle system, I saw that and I was just like, okay, yeah, this is my jam. And, it wouldn't be until about 4 or 5 years later that I'd actually play it. Welcome to Prudent Gaming. My name is Michael, and this is my review of Child of Light. The story starts off with a narrator telling a story about the Duke of Austria. He's raising his daughter alone after the mother mysteriously disappeared. He falls in love with another woman after getting lonely and marries her, and then that night, Aurora, the main character, the heroine of the story, she goes to sleep and it's said that she died in her sleep. But instead, what actually happens is, you are Aurora and you wake up in the land of Lemuria on a mysterious altar. So that the narrative of the game and all of the character interactions are told through rhyming couplets, and it essentially makes the game a long interactive poem. When I first saw this, I thought it was going to get annoying. I thought it was really going to get on my nerves, but that wasn't the case at all. It actually really made the game a lot more enjoyable, and I think that's because there's not that many interactions. There's plenty of talking between characters, and there's little times that things will pop up maybe after a battle where some characters will start talking to each other, and everything rhymes, everything, except Rubella. They kept it very well contained, and it didn't go overboard. There's quite a few characters that join your party. I love exploring all of these different story arcs for the characters, and they're very self-contained. I think my favourite one is, I think his name is pronounced Oengus. He's a Katagida warrior. My favourite was his, when you have to go through a labyrinth to find the rest of his clan and try and rescue them. One that I thought was a bit disappointing compared to the others. The first person you meet is a jester named Rubella, and she's looking for her brother. She's not very good at rhyming, by the way. And it lasts the majority of the game before you actually find her brother. And I find meeting Tristis that near the end doesn't really give you enough time with the character to really get to know him. Like, there's a huge gap. There's no real progression with finding Tristis throughout the game. It's kind of, you get Rubella and she says, my brother's missing, let's try and find where the circus went. And then way later in the game, suddenly you see some circus stuff and, oh look, there's Tristis. Whereas all of the other characters, it's very much, as soon as you meet them, you have like a side story of theirs that you'd complete. I thought that was a lot better to do that rather than spread out this story, which really didn't go anywhere for me. Pacing definitely could have been improved in the game. It starts off strong. There's main plot points that are drip fed to you throughout the game, and that's great. I love that. But then it gets to maybe the last third, no, not even third actually, maybe the last quarter of the game, where it suddenly gets very heavy, very fast. The main plot is just coming at you, and it feels like there's quite a big imbalance from the side stories that you do throughout the game and the actual main plot. It's not necessarily that much of a bad thing, because the story's good. I enjoyed the story. I thought it was very good. I just felt the very last part was very rushed compared to the slow pacing that you've gone through for, 7-8 hour game, maybe? I think to just throw it all at you towards the end, it's not the best thing it could have done. Despite those pacing issues, they do give you enough time to understand the villain's motivations. I mean, it just shows what a strong story is. Moving on to the gameplay, I've got to say that the gameplay for Child of Light is very simple, and that's not a complaint at all. It uses turn-based battle system that will be familiar to old school RPG fans or traditional JRPG fans, but it adds its own unique flair. So everyone on the battlefield shares the same time bar. If you've chosen an action, but also an enemy's waiting to take their turn, and they get their turn in before you, if they attack a person that has chosen an action and is not waiting to choose an action, they'll get interrupted and be pushed back along the bar, essentially making you miss a turn. That can get very, very frustrating. However, it opens up a lot of possibilities for different strategies. There were many times during this playthrough that I did where the enemy wouldn't even get an attack in. I'd just constantly demolish them all because I'll be knocking them back or interrupting. It was very good. I really enjoyed the battle system. I think the closest battle system I could think of in recent years would be World of Final Fantasy. After the first boss, this person, they just come out of nowhere, and then it's like out of Peter Pan, they sprinkle you some fairy dust, and then suddenly you can fly. Flying in this game feels so good. Flying around in the 2D space makes this world so much easier to get around. It's so much quicker than just walking everywhere. I ended up just flying everywhere. There is one downside to this. There's a dash ability that you can do while flying, which will push Aurora forward. And there was many times where I was trying to dash upwards, but I ended up just going sideways into spikes, and I got so frustrating. So I never died when actually doing that, but it did get kind of annoying. At the beginning of the game, you meet a friend as well called Igniculus, and he's a firefly. He can heal you. He has a wish meter, that depletes as you burn brighter to heal yourself. Or if you do it over an enemy, it will slow them down during battle. You can heal yourself outside of battle as well, using Igniculus. But there's also puzzles involved in the game where it'll burn brighter in front of something and project a shadow over the back wall, and you need to match the patterns. Now, I enjoy puzzles like this. There's one really good one where you need to find these podiums to push down, essentially build the puzzle that you need to solve. But there weren't many. I think there was maybe 4, and I was really hoping to have more of those. The ones we did have were good, but yeah, I wish there was more of those. The first thing I said I noticed about this game was the art style, and this game is beautiful. Honestly, it looks just like a painting, but at the same time, a lot of the enemies in there they look like rough sketches of concept art. This whole game, although it's from Ubisoft, it has such a handmade feel to it, and I love that about this game. The roughness just really adds to the charm of this. And the animation that's used, I believe, is skeletal animation or bone-based animation. It fit the art style perfectly. It just adds to the charm of this game and just more of that handmade feel. One animation that I really like is when Aurora is knocked back in battle. Not even knocked back, just when she's hit in battle, she'll step back and her crown will fall off of her head and there'll just be a little clink, 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 clink. However, as much as I love this animation, there's a moment in the game where Aurora goes for a big chain and that animation stopped. I just didn't understand why that animation stopped. She still stepped back when she's hit, but the crown doesn't fall off of her head, but the noise of the crown hitting the floor still plays. Aside from that, the rest of the animation of the game, it just fills this entire world of Lemuria with life, and it is beautiful. It really is. Another aspect that's just as beautiful as the art style is the music. I'm not an expert on music. If anything, things to critique, sound and music is probably my weakest aspect. That's probably the thing that I know the least about. I know there's a lot that goes into sound. I'm just not clued up on it. It is something that I guess I need to learn. But it sounds like the composer for this soundtrack, Beatrice Martin, honestly, it sounds like she's written all of these songs from the heart. As cliche as that may sound, it really does. It's such a lovely sounding soundtrack. It's amazing to put that soundtrack on if you're studying or working. It's so relaxing, and I was listening to it the whole time while I was writing the review. On top of the music, I mentioned with the animation part, there's the sound of Aurora's crown falling off her head. Now, obviously, that sound didn't need to be there. It added so much. Just that sound of her crown falling off it is just like a little touch that just adds so much. There's many subtle sounds as you're going through Lemuria, and it just feels alive. There's creatures and critters in the background. Honestly, if there's one word that I could use to describe the sounds in this game, it would be mystifying. Would I recommend this game? Absolutely. Child of Light is a fantastic game, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. There's enough story to leave you fulfilled despite the pacing issues, and it's great for anybody who loves traditional RPGs or traditional JRPGs with the turn-based combat. In fact, even if you're not a huge fan of the turn-based combat but like some strategy in your battles, I would recommend that to those as well. I'm glad that it's got a Switch release. It's a beautiful game with a beautiful soundtrack, and I really, really do recommend that people play it. And if you don't want to play it, check out my Let's Play of it. It's the first Let's Play that I've done with the channels. You can see the link to that Let's Play in the description down below. So maybe not much of a review, but more of just me talking about my thoughts. I wanted this video to be a relaxed discussion with myself. There's a lot of reviews out there, and instead of just being a formal review, like I said, I just wanted to give my thoughts. and I loved this game. And I really hope that you enjoyed listening to my thoughts about this game. And if you did, please show me how much by leaving a like and leaving a comment. Tell me what I could do better next time and tell me what you liked about it. I invite you to subscribe to my channel to see more videos just like this one and to catch up on any of my Let's Play. But until next time, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.